Hi there. Welcome to Infinite Stories. This is the podcast where we sit down and interview everyday people just like you and me. This is your host, Mitchell Vine, and boy, do we have an incredible story for you. Let's jump into this week's interview. Let's pretend like we've never met each other before, all right? Which, I mean, it's been a good amount of years, so it's not like we've interacted a whole lot in that time frame anyway, but why don't you introduce yourself as if you've never met me before? Who are you?
My name's Joe Dietzer. I'm from Clark Summit, Pennsylvania. I grew up there most of my life. I moved to, after I graduated high school, I moved to Colorado, and then I moved to Michigan. And then from Michigan, I got married while I was there. And from there, we moved to Arkansas for a job interview. I guess I love to write. I've wanted to be a writer, a professional writer, since I was about 16. I had some, I say 4 gap years after high school to where I wanted to experience life, learn a trade, and hike the Appalachian Trail. So I did that with my dad. And then I just graduated college last May with an English degree, and I'm trying to have a go of it with Substack and podcasting, and I have a couple manuscripts. So my goal is to make a living with what I write at some point. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That's about it. I'm married. I have two pets, a cat named Phoebe and a dog named Lewis that I named after C.S. Lewis. But the dog is nothing like C.S. Lewis. He's very extroverted and just wants attention. So
how do you know C.S. Lewis wasn't like that?
I'm trying to think what else. I like to hike. I guess I don't. I didn't meet him personally. I imagine him being introverted, but I don't know.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, then, so you're a storyteller, so this is going to be a lot of fun for you then. How would you paint the beginning of your story? Like, what was it like for you growing up?
So growing up, I was the youngest of 3. So I have 2 older sisters. I would say I had a very idyllic childhood. I grew up on a dead-end street, and we had a little house, and there was a little patch of woods in the backyard, just enough to explore and make forts in. I had two friends in my neighborhood, Tommy and Matt, and we had all kinds of adventures when I was a kid, and I was lucky enough to grow up in a believing household. Both my parents were Christians. When I was very young, we started going to a church called Parker Hill in Clark Summit, and I pretty much spent my whole time growing up in one church. We didn't really hop around, so I got a good amount of Bible teaching and positive influences on my life, and so I'd say that's kind of the groundwork. I was kind of the golden boy of the family growing up. I was that I tell people I was like that really annoying friend to have, where your mom's like, I wish you would be more like him. I mean, that definitely didn't last, but I was kind of that kid, oh, Joe's such a good boy.
Did you like that? Was that something you enjoyed?
I'm sure my pride, my ego definitely enjoyed that. I've always been kind of an old soul too, so I like to talk to adults. I got along with adults, and so I liked that attention, I'd say, but yeah, I'm quiet at the same time, so I don't know.
50-50. Yeah. Well, then kind of a twist. Maybe but can you recall a time where you understood what sin was for the first time? Understand what is right, what is wrong? Do you have any memories like that?
I don't know that I have a specific memory of where I felt the influence of sin. That's a hard thing. I remember when I was saved and understanding then, I kind of like, you get that message over and over in church. You're not good enough. You can't make your way to heaven. And so it's just kind of in the water in my life, like my whole life, pretty much growing up. that, I was a sinner. I did wrong things, and something that was kind of implicitly understood. Um, and I'm sure I was aware that I was constantly sinning in some regard.
But you were good at not doing it.
Yeah, perhaps. Um, yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's move on into the more grade school area. Any memories of what life looked like? You said you stayed in the same area for most of your life, correct? So, any memories of as your character was being formed as a child, realistically?
Yeah. So these are kind of hard. I haven't been asked questions about when I was young in a really long time. I loved the outdoors. I always wanted to be in the woods. I like to hunt and fish and things like that. And but school wise, I grew up going to I kind of was all over the board. I up until fifth grade, I was in a very small private Christian school called Summit Baptist Academy, and there was usually at most maybe like 20 people in my whole grade. So it was very, very small. And then fifth grade, I went from that my whole entire life to going to a very large public school that had about 300 people in my grade. That was kind of a big jump for me. And then getting to know what it was like to associate with people who weren't Christians, or in my small group of people that I knew. Yeah, so I think probably more of the character forming parts of my life came when I started to get older and started adopting a friend group, and talking to girls, things like that.
Oh,
I know that's always a big jump.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, then maybe leaning into the middle school era, then what were some lies that you might have believed about yourself growing up?
Lies. So I guess just going in again to being in a kind of a idyllic childhood. I never really had parents that told me I wasn't good enough, or I couldn't do things, and I didn't have any kind of formative people telling me that I couldn't do things, or I wasn't competent, and so it could have contributed to some narcissism later in my teenage years, but I guess I don't remember any specific lies, at least at that age that I had.
Understood. Well, then transitioning from middle school to high school, any key story points that pop out to you? What was
we
changing?
were in middle school?
Oh, yeah.
Because I can go into that a little bit more.
Oh, go for it. The floor is yours.
Yeah. So, when I was probably 12 or 13, I stopped hanging out a little bit more with my childhood buddies, Tommy and Matt, and then kind of adopted a friend group at church, and that was like mixed company. So there was girls and boys, and we would like go bowling, or hang out at someone's house, have a pool party, jump on trampoline, things you do.
Man, you got all the fun stuff. I never got any of that.
Yeah, well, I'm giving the highlights.
Once every 3 years, this stuff happened.
Yeah, but I remember like at the first time in my life, it kind of became like a big deal. Like, well, who am I in this friend group? Like, where do I stand in the pecking order? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What do people like about me? And just kind of trying to form that identity. And so that was actually an okay time in my life too. My friend group, we had about 5 other kids, give or take. Some floaters, people coming in our lives and out. We kind of had the core group of people, and then our parents liked to hang out together too. So it was a lot of social fun. But I remember being like, there's a lot of like, oh, who do you like? And people trying to like, figure out what boys and girls together are like again. And then I started to like girls, and then
Why?
I know you. And with that came some some rejection, and yeah, I think my first girlfriend was when I was in 8th grade, and after 4 months, she broke up with me, and that was like devastating to me. Because you have this idea of who you are in your head, and then that's kind of shattered. So I remember that being really sad for me, and just kind of crying and figuring out that this is my first time dealing with those kind of emotions, and then realizing I'm the kind of person that just keeps it all in. And so that's kind of been I think a recurring theme in my life, that when something goes wrong in my life, I kind of retreat, go into my inner being, and kind of get self-focused. So that was something that I think I learned about myself during middle school years, to where that is still kind of a struggle for me.
Defense mechanism.
Right.
I got you. Was there like a starting point for that, or has it just always been like that for you?
I think in some aspects, I was born with a certain personality. I'm. Have you ever taken the Myers-Briggs?
Yeah.
Thing? Yeah. I was like a 99% introvert. So, I think I've always kind of gotten energy from being by myself, and sorting things out. And when I'm like, I can be social sometimes. Like I'm trying right now, really hard. It's not that hard. You're a good host. But I always, if I'm out in a group of people, like I need time to myself, or in my room, or writing or reading or taking a walk in the woods. Those are the things that kind of give me energy, and like thinking about ideas and stuff, even with another person I thrive more on one-on-one conversation and things like that. And I think a lot of that was just kind of like ingrained into my personality, probably from birth. God, wrote, this guy's an introvert on my soul.
He's
or whatever.
Really introvert. Really, really introvert.
Yeah. Because I don't think I was like scarred into my introvertedness. It was more of a innate trait. At least that's my take on it.
Yeah, I blame my family for my introvertedness. If I didn't have so many siblings, I definitely would probably be more extroverted.
Yeah, I could see that.
I remember my mom calling me out of my room one day. She's like, "Mitch, you've just been in there all day. Why don't you come out?" And I'm like, "Mom, there's so many kids out there. Why would I?" She's like, "Those are your siblings." I'm like, "Yeah, I know. I'll talk to them eventually, but just not today." So just like interactions like that, just it made me realize how introverted I wanted to be. But I'm pretty sure every time I've taken the Myers-Briggs test, I'm like 49% introverted and like 51% the other way. So it's like every time it would just switch back and forth. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm split. But I hear you. Do you know what your 4 letters are completely?
INTJ.
INTJ. I'm an INFJ, so we're just one off.
Oh, cool.
That's the thinking and feeling, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, cool. Well, let's lean into the high school years then. What happened between middle school and high school? Any big plot points, if you will?
So things continued similarly till my senior year of high school. Well, okay. So 9th grade, I kind of had a falling out with my friend group. I'd rather not share specifics, and stuff like that. But I kind of like decided like, oh, this group of people like isn't good, and I need to distance myself from these people. Kind of like another like, oh, I retreat. That's my thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think I was kind of so introverted that I didn't realize that I needed people. And so ninth grade, that happened. I was still in public school. And so I kind of went completely the other direction. I stopped hanging out with everyone. I started homeschooling my sophomore year of high school. And Then I homeschooled my sophomore year of high school to my junior year of high school, and I was basically on my own. My sisters had homeschooled before when they were younger, and it was a big toll on my parents. And so my dad basically told me, if I have to be on you about getting your work done all the time, you're going back to school, because I'm not going to let this like hurt our relationship, because me and my dad have always been really close. So I I worked really hard, and I feel like I probably learned the most that I ever learned in my life, but I I got so lonely because both my parents were working at the time. I was at home by myself a lot. Sometimes I would go into work with my dad because he had his own business in town, and we'd walk down together. But a kid at that age just hanging out with their parents and sitting in their house and doing schoolwork all day is probably not the best mode of operation. So,
Yep.
I I just got like more lonely, and then I that's when I started kind of writing and kind of trying to work out my emotions and the things I was feeling, and I was reading a lot of books, and then I read On the Road by Jack Kerouac and some like Allen Ginsberg, and I got this like idea of my head of what real life was like, and how and this romantic idea of like being on the road and trying to find the essence of life, and all those kind of ideas were floating around in my head, and I was like, I basically went back to school my senior year. I went back to public school like with the mindset I'm gonna do anything to have friends. Like there's pretty much anything I do. So I kind of got into the wrong crowd at that point. I was I was 18. I bought my own car with newspaper money I had saved up most of my life. I got a sweet Jeep Wrangler from
Heck
the
yes.
95, and I thought I was just like the coolest guy.
You were.
Um,
I'm going to affirm that. You were.
well, not until you hear the next part.
Oh,
okay. I started working at a coffee shop, and I like went completely into like this hipster phase. I don't know if you remember when that was going around.
Oh, yeah. I've
But
been
I was
identified as one before.
yeah, I worked at a coffee shop. I started smoking hand-rolled cigarettes. Kind of got into like, doing some drugs and drinking and going to parties. And I was kind of rejected church. I was like, those people are fake. They don't know what real life is like. Real life is like hard and painful. And I just kind of got like cynical and jaded about all the things that I had grown up doing, and I was like, I need to explore what life is like without God, and that's just what I'm gonna do. And if it's true, then I'll probably come back. But if it's not, then it's not true, and I don't want to live life with things that aren't true. So, I guess it was a mix of things like. Having all these romantic ideas of my head of being, a writer and a poet, and being like these, 1950s hipsters. And so, yeah, that would be a major plot point for me is, deciding to kind of like reject my faith and reject how I grew up and see what it was like on the other side of the pond, where you think the grass is always greener.
So what happened? What happened after that? Where'd the story go?
So after that, I graduated from high school. Me and some of my buddies got a summer job all the way in Texas. And we did like door to door political surveys in Texas for a few months, and that was not great. Still going to hotel room to hotel room, and I was like sick and unhealthy, and everybody was drinking and partying and things like that. And then I went back home, and then I basically slept for 2 weeks. And then my dad was like, Joe, if you're gonna be here, you got to get a job. And so a lot of like my good relationship with my dad and my parents and my family was kind of like pretty broken at that point. We didn't talk a lot. I was like I'd kind of leave the house early in the morning and I wouldn't come back till late at night. And so I was like just looking for some job to where I could say I have a job. And I was just really broken. And so I ended up walking into a local restaurant, and I sat at the bar, and I was like, do you guys have anything open? And they were like, yeah, here's like, fill out an application. And like, I didn't even know, like, front of the house, back of the house, it didn't matter. And then someone like came out from the back, from the kitchen. It was like a cook, and he was like, can you wash dishes tonight? And I was like, yeah, sure. And he hugged me. Like, they had not had a dishwasher for like a couple weeks or something, and the cooks were having to wash dishes, and they were just not happy about it. So anyway, my dad had this saying from my uncle that said, whatever job you have, treat it like it's your career. And so I started washing dishes, and I just did the best possible job I could possibly do washing dishes. And then that kind of became my identity. I was like in the kitchen all the time, and still out, outside of work, wasn't living like I should be. But it like at any shift that anyone called off, people in the kitchen are historically unreliable, and so any shift anyone called off, I would take, and I would get done fast, make things clean, make things organized, help out the cooks when I could. And so that was kind of what happened next after high school. And then eventually I started prep cooking and things like that. But
well, what transitioned? Same job or the same location? You went into a different prep cooking, you said?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Same kitchen.
Gotcha. How long were you there in that place for?
I was there, let me see, probably a year or so. And at least a year. So, yeah. And I ended up getting into prep cooking, and people were starting to show me the ropes and the basics of cooking. And then they eventually moved me up to garde manger, which was the salad station. There's like a whole bunch of different, there was 4 stations in that kitchen. You have garde manger, sauté, grill, and expo, and people usually shift around. But so I had started that. The best, like the most skilled cook has the grill position all the time. So that's kind of where you're trying to get to.
Did you make it there?
I don't know if I don't think I did at that restaurant. No. Okay. But I ended up being a cook for like 6 years after that. So in a whole bunch of different places. But that was kind of a short career, I guess, I had.
Which is funny, because that's all I know you as, because that's how I interacted with you for the first time. So. Oh,
that's right. Yeah. Coming from like restaurant cooks, I was probably a little nuts in the camp kitchen.
You've got high standards.
Teenagers and it's like Lake Ann, Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah. Yes. They need that. They do. Man, so what kind of led you from the different locations that you went after that? You said you worked in for about 6 years or so in that kitchen sphere. How's your story move forward from that?
So when I was dishwashing in that kitchen, so I first started at that kitchen, and I was dishwashing, and this is kind of outside of the kitchen, but I got in a little trouble with the law. I was puffing the devil's lettuce at a reservoir in my town, and there was a cop that pulled up behind us, and they didn't take me in or anything, but took my name, and then so I was kind of in trouble there a little bit with a couple of my friends, and so I was dishwashing at the time. I kind of had this looming court date, and I had gotten the envelope a couple weeks later in the mail of my summons and things like that, and didn't know what was going to happen. And then my restaurant, the restaurant I was working at in town, closed for 2 weeks for renovations to get like a whole brand new kitchen. And I was like, I was kind of the only part about my like anything positive that I did, and so I just felt like I was drowning. Like I was like in this town and had all these people, and I think when you're a certain person, it's like, oh, you want to stop being that person, but then like all your social connections and everything kind of keeps you who you are. So I just felt like I was drowning, and so I was like, I got to get out of this town. And so I ended up I had a really good friend of mine, move my junior year of high school to Colorado. And so I, like, with that 2 weeks off, I like told my parents I was leaving. I packed up my bags and I left to go to Colorado. And so my sister lives in Kansas City, so I kind of had like a little stopping point. And so I was like, I need to get out. I need to do something. And so I just left. And it was, probably unwise. I was going to have to like pay some court fees and things like that. But it just seemed like it was a necessity. So I got in my car, packed my bags, and went out to visit Steve. And then we had it was just such a great adventure. I didn't know if I was even going to come back. I drove it was a 17-hour leg the first time, and it was like in the complete snow, and then stopped at my sister's, and then it went all the way to Colorado, and Steve just showed me like a great time, and we went hiking, and he showed me around Denver and things like that, and so we did that, and then I decided to come back, and I went home, and then kind of had all the court stuff happen, and I was charged with disorderly conduct or something, and had to pay a fine, and so it was a good ruling, and then so that happened, and then I was like, I am going to move to Colorado if it kills me. That was like my one thing. Like I knew I had to go home and deal with this thing that I had happened, and then I was like, my whole purpose in life was to get to Colorado. So I think I cooked another year at State Street, saving up enough money, and then I finally felt like I had enough cash to pack all my bags and move out to Colorado. And so I moved out. I moved into with my friend, and there was like 6 other college guys in Denver who were all kind of going to the same college. So it was kind of like a little frat house.
Yep,
and,
sounds like it.
Yeah, so that's what I ended up doing. And then once I was there, I applied to a bunch of restaurants. I had like a really bad resume I was handing out, and
good.
Then finally someone gave me a chance, and I learned most of what I had to learn about restaurants in the restaurant that I was at in Denver. It was a really, really great place. People that had been working in the restaurant industry for a long time. It became even more of my identity, and I worked all the time, and worked hard, partied hard, and really learned a whole bunch of stuff about food and cooking from scratch, and about getting along in a very high octane, stressful workplace.
I believe it. Well, was that beneficial to you because of your natural calm demeanor already?
I think I fit in pretty well. Like, I guess I always did okay with stress. Not a lot can rile me up. I'm not like I have a very long wick. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's not. Sometimes, you have to respond to things fast, and sometimes it's good to take your time and, not be fast to anger and things like that. But, I found that I could easily keep control, when things were stressful, when people were yelling at me. Like, it almost, like, after being in the kitchen for so long, it almost was the opposite response. Like, people would start yelling at me, and I'd get calmer and more focused and I'd be like, in the zone. And I loved it because it was like the kitchen is like team sports. Like you have a captain and everyone has their job and you have a purpose and everyone has to work together. And it's like conducting an orchestra, it's just, and it's beautiful and it can be really creative and but also like physical at the same time. So there's a lot I really liked about the restaurant.
That's awesome. So what guided you through that time? What changed about your life?
I was there for 10 months, I think, total. It feels like a lot longer than that because it was just such a crazy time in my life. I feel like really kind of formative, adventure for me to do. And so, yeah, I was there for 10 months. Then it was like it had been 3 years since I made that decision to go back to high school and be this person that I wasn't for my whole entire life. And I was unhealthy and doing things I shouldn't, and I just got really sick and tired of the person that I was for the first time. All my friends were moving from the house, and I was going to have to find a new living situation if I wanted to stay in Colorado. And so I was thinking about what I want to do, and I sat on our back porch, and for the first time I was like, I'm going to end up dead. I'm going to end up in jail. I'm going to end up homeless. This is where my life is leading me. If I keep going down this road. And for some reason that just never clicked with me. I was young, I live forever, and that's just I think your mindset when you're that age, but it finally clicked with me. I cannot be this person forever. And so I was I want to get back to the person that I was. Really strongly, I felt this. And but any good decision you make, I'll tell my buddies I'm gonna quit smoking, and then they're like, oh, you'll be back in 2 weeks, there's no way you're gonna make it, so people would just bring you down when you're around. That kind of, so I needed something to get me out of this this kind of position I was in. So it was undoubtedly, to me, God's hand that my dad called me at the exact same time I was on the back porch having this kind of epiphany. And he said, Joe, I'm going to sell my business and I want to hike the Appalachian Trail with you. And it was kind of a dream of ours since I was a little kid. And we had always talked about it. Even part of homeschooling, I was if I homeschool, maybe we can make enough, we can, I can finish early and we can, try to hike the Appalachian Trail together or something like that. I ended up not working out. We didn't have enough money, and I couldn't finish school in 6 months.
What?
Yeah, my dad, was saying these things, and I think I was just yes. I was this is exactly what I needed. And I God wasn't in my head at all during that time, but this desire to be a better person was to kind of get back to a better version of myself somehow, anyway. I don't think that's really possible. You can't go back in time, but there is a way to make a positive, I think incrementally small good decisions kind of expand over time.
Sanctification
thing. So that's kind of the way forward. I didn't realize at the time, but so that's what I did.
So what happened on that trip?
Well, yeah. So this is I guess another part to the story, but Victoria, my wife. We had met at camp when we were young. We had met in the coffee shop working there, and she's from Michigan, I'm from Pennsylvania, but we kind of liked each other while we were working together, and we had stayed in touch since I think it was after my junior year of high school that we met working together and during the whole summer. And but since then we had stayed in touch for like, over 3-4 years. We were, not going out or anything. But we had written like handwritten letters like back and forth for a long time. And when I was in Colorado, Victoria sent me like some my favorite pop from the Cherry Republic, like on my birthday. And it was like, I was kind of still at a low point at that time, and I was like, I just thought that was like so kind. And so I was like, maybe she still has feelings for me. And so I was going to leave to go back to Pennsylvania to hike with my dad. And so I went up to Michigan to go see Victoria. And we kind of hit it off again. Like I just stayed, like I didn't really have a super strict time set that I had to be back. So I stayed for like 3 days, and we just kind of went explored coffee shops in Traverse City and saw, went into like different antique shops and tried on old jackets and sifted through vinyl and just spent time together. And it was just really, really
all
nice.
hipster things. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I hope it was fading during that time. I just wanted to delete all my Instagram from high school. Just like me taking these like moody, the scarf on.
Yep. Yes.
Old man sweaters. But
awesome.
Yeah, so I reconnected with her, and then went back to Pennsylvania, and my dad and I took a couple trips to REI, and then my friend drove us down to Georgia, and we were on the trail, like just like that, in April. And so we, again, I was not looking for God. When I was in like going through my thing in high school, and when I was out in Colorado, I remember specifically in Colorado someone asking me and telling a friend, like, I don't not believe in God, but I don't call myself a Christian because I'm not seeking him. I'm actively not trying to be a Christian. So I wouldn't really call myself a Christian, because a Christian is someone who's like seeking after God's will for their life. And I'm not doing that right now. It's off the table. So even now, I was not seeking God. I had this, vague idea of being a better person. And so we started the trail, and this was kind of like my commitment. But me and my dad didn't have any we like to talk and we have conversations all the time, but we didn't never had I feel like sometimes your dad sits you down and is like, you're screwing up your life, get it together kind of thing. But my dad never did that. We just walked, and never had a super deep conversation like that, but God showed up on the trail. I don't know, how long does this podcast go?
It says as long as the story goes, man. I don't put time constraints on it, so you're good.
Okay, this sounds good. But stop me if you want to focus me or whatever.
Nah, I'm good.
If we go back for a second, in Colorado, the night before I left to go back to Pennsylvania or to visit Victoria, I had a dream. And when I started smoking the devil's lettuce, weed, stuff like that, the one thing about it is it doesn't, you can't dream. At least that had my effect on me. I couldn't, I hadn't dreamt, and I had a little bit almost every night, just to put me to sleep. So I hadn't dreamt in years. I hadn't remembered a dream in years and years. So in this dream, I was in this kind of dark, gothic, strange mansion, and there were naked bodies writhing on the floor, and it was just grotesque and ugly. And I was kind of making my way through this hallway, and all of a sudden I get out into this clearing, in the dream, and I'm still in the house, and then there's a man that's standing like across the hallway from me, and I realize it's God. Like I don't remember his face or anything like that, but and then like in the dream he said something to me, and I had this like feeling in the dream after he said something to me that like my whole life made sense, that I had this like sense of peace and clarity that I had never had in my life since then, and that I was like not familiar with, which with like my complicated life that I was living, and like it was just like this like overwhelming feeling of like I understood life, I understood what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and I was satisfied and purposeful with it, and but I don't remember. At this point. I don't remember what he said, and then in the dream, God walks away around the corner, and I chase after him, and then I find myself in like this garage, and I'm surrounded by like men in black suits and sunglasses, like in the Matrix kind of.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're in a circle around me, and they come, like all these men come for me, and like I float up, and then I woke up, but I was in sleep paralysis, and this like never happened to me like before or since, but so like those who don't know sleep paralysis, I was in this like I couldn't move and I couldn't open my eyes, but like I was awake. So like my mind was awake. I knew I was awake, but it's like I was terrified. Like I was just dumbstruck, terrified, and like I didn't even really realize where I was. I was kind of confused, and I thought I was in my bed like at home in Pennsylvania, and I would like started to try to call for my dad, but I couldn't say anything. And then I realized like in my head that, oh, I'm in Colorado and my roommate's here, so I started to call for him. And then like eventually I snapped out of it, and like this squeak came out of my mouth, and I was like, that's crazy. That was weird.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I had that experience, and then so my dad and I started the trail, and we're hiking, and we meet a guy named, so everyone on the trail has trail names, and my dad and I were Old Spice and Axe. It was kind of like, a generational thing where different generations, his, generation's choice of deodorant was Old Spice, ours was Axe, even though I never wore it. That was past middle school at least.
Never, no.
Yeah. And then, so we meet a guy named Old Timer, and he was like an old coal miner, and he did the trail as kind of like a missions field. So he was gonna like walk and talk to people about God and things like that. And so we hiked with him a little bit on and off, and so got to know him, and had some conversations and things like that. And he knew we were Christians, and then so we're about halfway through the trail, and then I was in my hammock one night and went to sleep, and then I found myself back in that same room in a dream, to where like I was in a hallway, and God was across from me, and then he said he said the same thing to me, but I heard the words, and the words were, "You must follow me." And I had that same feeling of like just complete peace and understanding. And then I woke up, and I had this like searing headache for like a minute, and then it kind of faded. And then like I was like, yeah, that's what I have to do. Like that's what makes sense. Like there is there's no other thing in the world that I can do that has purpose. This is the one thing, and if I could just do this one thing, then the rest of my life is literally figured out. This is and God tells us, I don't know if this is from God or whatever, but I think Scripture tells us to test the spirits to see where they're from, and I think I can square that with Scripture.
Check, double check.
Yeah. So I think yes, and I didn't even tell anyone this, like, and well, I guess till later in the trail. So we after Virginia, it's kind of like there's a halfway point. Like a quarter of the whole trail is in Virginia, and for those who don't know, I probably should have said this, but the Appalachian Trail it took us 6 months to hike, so it's a very long distance trail. It starts in Georgia, it ends in Maine. It's like 2,190 miles approximately, and so yeah, like a quarter of the trail is in Virginia, and then you get through Virginia and you're like halfway there. So things kind of start to change after that. Some people drop off, and like the trail is very busy until you get more north. There's lots of people trying to through hike, but not everyone makes it, of course. And so I remember being more north. I think we were more like New England. So I was like, if you know me, and even if you knew me then, like I was never a person that was like, you can have a dream from God. That's not something that I would ever think or really believe. It was just not a part of, I guess, much of like my church growing up, or personal belief or anything like that. Is kind of for the wackadoodles out there. And so I think maybe that was like why I didn't really tell many people, or like I just kind of kept it inside. But we were in New England, and we were staying at a hostel with Old Timer, and we were sitting in like a pub and having something to eat, and then we were having conversation, and I started telling him about my dream, and I was like, do you think like, and I told him the whole thing, and he was kind of quiet, and I was like, do you think there can be dreams like from God? And he was like, he's kind of Pentecostal, so he was like, not how I think. And so he was like, dreams can be one of a couple things. Is something you ate the night before, or it's from Jesus Christ.
Only two ways.
Yeah. Either had a bad piece of fish, or God's trying to tell you something.
That's awesome.
So I guess that kind of partly confirmed things for me, and then I just kept walking, and we I really feel like I kind of walked off my ghosts a little bit, and kind of and then I wrote a blog during the whole thing, and just kind of we got to the end, where like in September, and it was near my almost my 21st birthday. Birthday's coming up. I'm going to be 29 in the end of the month. So and then we the trail ends at Mount Katahdin, and it's like this big mountain. It's like very much like whenever I think of like the Lonely Mountain and the Hobbit, I think of Mount Katahdin, because it's like it's in Maine, but it's like flat around the entire mountain for miles and miles and miles. And then like you walk up, and then so it's very flat. There's 100 miles of pure wilderness, and then you hit the mountain, and it's like it just rises out of like nowhere. It's just this giant mountain, in the middle of nowhere. And like usually when you're mountains, it's like a range, so they're like one after the other, but it's just kind of like there, and it's a really good place to finish. But we had a really special hike at the end, and we woke up earlier than anyone else, and we started in the dark with just our headlamps, and as we went up the mountain, the sun started to rise, and it was like this blood red sunrise, and Um, then as you kept going, the light kept getting stronger and stronger as we went up. And then while we were at the top, it was just me and my dad, and we stood on the Katahdin sign and took a big picture. And yeah, it was very, very special moment because I really wanted to finish something in my life, to have something that I felt was special and my dad felt was special under our belt. And at the same time, during the trip, I feel like I kind of, to the glory of God, made up or repaired some of the relationships that I had broken, mainly with my family, mainly with my dad. We had been so close, and then we were just not for so many years, and that was my fault and very painful for all of us. So I was able to like repair that relationship with my dad, where we could be really close again, and we're still really close. I talk to him all the time, and well, we have a podcast.
You have a podcast. Yep, not done with him yet.
Yeah, and we kind of have this thing to share for the rest of our lives, where we could sit there and talk and trade stories, just like that. Like I couldn't with anyone else, and I couldn't have even if I did it by myself. And it was just really special. And then through writing the blog, I feel like it encouraged a lot of people from our town who saw, how I went off the deep end, and maybe had their own children that were having problems, and could follow along and then see the person that I had become, kind of after I finished, which we finished, and I, got back home, and I was still struggling to like, who am I? How can I make this this a permanent thing? Like, am I just kidding myself that I, could really be a good person? So maybe that was a lie that I had, that like, oh, I was just bad. I couldn't be a good person. And then halfway through the trail too, me and Victoria kind of called me, and while I was taking a break at my aunt's house in Virginia, and then I had a couple friends that were at Lake Ann that she was working with, and they were always kind of like you and Joe are going out, and she's like, we're not going out. No one asked anyone out. And so she called me in Virginia and was like, define the relationship kind of thing. And I was like, I went on this adventure, and I didn't want to like, I knew I had to do this, and I didn't want to like, make you feel like you were beholden to me for the 6 months that, I'm away. And she thought that was really sweet. And then she was like, yeah, we're going out. So, we talked through the whole trail, and then after I finished, we did long distance for like a year until I moved to Lake Ann. And then while I was there, I think God really cemented in my heart that he had called me out, that his hand plucked me from my own hell, and put me back on my feet. And I could see God's hand even working when I was ignoring him. When I was, had nothing to do with him, was going in the opposite direction. Like, I had this career that I felt like, gave me a sense of who I am. And that career, though, during a time where I was really fallen, he took the fact that I did that and used it for good, because I was able to go to Lake Ann and help the chef there, and use this skill that I had gained in this 4 years of running from God, and use it to glorify God. And it was really a redeeming kind of thing that I think God worked out while I was doing my own thing. So yeah,
that's awesome. So then what happened between Lake Ann and where you are today? Like what has shaped you for the remainder of the story. Realistically, you said you're turning 29 at the end of the month.
Yeah. So, my life, like the quality of my life increased exponentially since all of that happening. It's really, and it's all God. It's not like it's very, it's very apparent to me that it was nothing like that I did that really, like if I was left to my own devices, if God hadn't so drastically entered my life, has, used his hand to guide me, I would, be one of those things that I mentioned earlier, dead in jail or homeless or, dying of cancer, whatever, pick one. That's where my life was going. And, it's just so clear that it wasn't something I did that got me back to where I was. But, so since then, I moved to Lake Ann. I was working year-round at the camp that I grew up working at, which is a Baptist camp, and then dating Victoria until I think maybe a year later. Since I moved there, we got engaged. 4 months later, we got married, went on our honeymoon, and then came back to Lake Ann. And Victoria had worked there pretty much since we met. She had pretty much stayed there. So
she's a lifer.
Yeah, she had been there a long time. And so after our honeymoon, we went back and we kept working together at Lake Ann. And then I got this email. So Lake Ann had switched executive chefs while I was working, while I was the assistant food service director there. I was kind of like the second hand man. And I had applied for the executive chef. I probably wasn't ready to take that on, but they went with someone else. And but we were a young couple, and we were at this camp that was kind of like in the middle of nowhere. We had to drive 45 minutes to get groceries, and for like a young couple, I don't know if it was ideal to. We didn't have a lot of like people our age that were close. And it was mostly like, older people that worked at the camp. So it kind of started to feel like it was time to move on. And I was kind of looking for opportunities, but wasn't sure what to do next. And then so I got this email that just sounded like one of those like Alibaba emails, like you're the inheritor of a Nigerian prince who died, whatever. But it was just, it was like, we're looking for an executive chef. This is what it pays, and like directly to my email. And I was like, where is this coming from? This is pretty much what I'm looking for. And so it ended up being a recruiter from a camp here in Arkansas called Camp Siloam, and they were looking for an executive chef. And we called a couple times, and then they paid to fly us down and have an interview, and had a spot there for Victoria too. And so it seemed like everything was pointing to this being the right decision. So we ended up moving, and we ended up working at the camp, and the deal, like in the interview, was like, I want complete control of the kitchen and the menu choices and hiring choices and stuff like that. And a lot of that didn't really come to fruition when we actually moved. And I was like, we moved across the country. And so I had felt kind of lied to. And so after a year, we decided to, without any like future, what we were going to do, we decided to leave the camp here. So, and at that like exact time when we were moving on, it paid okay. So we had like some money in the bank, but then COVID hit. So like right when we left, and then so it didn't seem like a good time to move. My family was kind of all over the place. We didn't really have a clear direction of where else to go. So we're like, I guess we'll just stay here. And what I really wanted to do, kind of like my my top goal was to graduate from school. And I had gone to a couple classes while I was at Lake Ann as the assistant. And so my main goal was, one day I want to graduate with my bachelor's degree, because, since I was 16, I want to be a writer and things like that. So it just so happened, it's really hard to find a school with just a writing degree. Especially at a Christian school, but it just so happened that in Siloam Springs there's a small Christian school with a writing degree. And so
can't make that up.
No, you can't. So I was I felt like this is kind of a God thing, and that I should try to start going to school. And so I was working odd jobs. I did Instacart kind of through COVID. Really just to get out of the house, and I felt like it was kind of doing something good for people, because a lot of older people or people who had illnesses didn't want to risk going to the grocery store and things like that. So I was like, I'm young, I'm healthy enough, I'm not really that scared, so I'll go grocery shopping. So actually, COVID for me was kind of the introvert's dream. I had an excuse never to go out of the house. I had everything I needed. I wrote every morning, I was reading. My family would hop on Zoom and do yoga, and it was very, very beautiful, especially after just a horrific time in being at the workplace I was. And it was just really, really restorative to me, and I really got me and Victoria planned what we were gonna do, and kind of got our heads around our plans for the future. And so I signed up for school and started going, and then I was just doing odd jobs. I was in a small Colombian restaurant for a little bit that was trying to pop up, just helping a family out. And then there was a kind of fancier restaurant I went to after that in town called 28 Springs, and was working that part-time while I was doing school. And then I ended up finding an email for JB Hunt, which is the trucking company down here, was looking for a intern as a UX writer, and I applied to that and ended up getting that. It was a paid internship. I was there for 3 years, and that job was just the perfect job as I was going through school, because they were super flexible, super kind, and it was remote. I didn't have to, be out of the house. And so that whole time, the last 4 years, I'm just going to college and trying to work hard and get smarter. So I figured the only reason I really have to go to college, I feel most people are I want to go to college, I want to get a business degree so that I can qualify for these jobs, and it's kind of interaction. But I'm I want to be a writer, and I'm just I'm not smart enough to just start writing and people will listen to me. I need to actually know things. And then and so I was I'm here to learn. That's my main goal. I don't think grades are as important as me actually knowing things. So that ended up just making my time at John Brown University just super rich. And I'm really finding out what I believe, kind of justification for, my knowledge, for knowing God, for, just kind of how to be in the world, and learning from a lot of dead people. what the good way to live your life is. And it just really ignited my passion for knowledge, for learning, for writing. And so now I'm trying to make it happen, I guess.
So you're graduated now then?
Yeah, I just graduated last May.
Woohoo!
Thank you.
Nice. I'm happy for you, man. I'm happy. Going to college absolutely terrified me, so I ran the other way, and I'm still running the other way. So we'll see. Yeah. I have taken God's word into consideration on this as well. So there's been times where I'm okay, I could see myself going and learning this, and then he'd be like, trust me, you don't want to go that way. It's expensive.
Yeah.
Man, That's so awesome. That's awesome. Well, then I have some questions. Now that you have shared a bulk of your story, and I greatly appreciate you sharing that, I know you so much more now in this hour than my entire time knowing you at Lake Ann, which I think is crazy because I wish I would have sat down and listened to all this at Lake Ann. But still, better late than never, that's for sure.
For sure.
A lot of people in Christian circles, they talk about having an aha moment or like what do you call just like a salvation moment. Is that something you experienced in your story? Was it woven into the details somewhere, or did it look differently for you?
Yeah. Normally when I'm telling my story, people are like, what's your testimony? And I usually start with that, but I skipped over it because it's more like, just tell your story,
Mm-hmm. That's what I wanted.
I was 9. I think I was 9. Yeah, I think I was 9. And did your school ever see you at the pool?
I was homeschooled, so
okay. No. Yeah. Anyways, see you at the pool is like once a year, Christians will gather together at their flagpole outside of their school before school starts and pray. It was kind of like a big thing when I was young. I don't know if they still do it or not.
I think I've heard of that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they still do that.
Yeah. But in my town, there was like a see you at the pool rally, and so like a big place was rented out, and they had like a really like they had a preacher come, and he was just like really on fire, and then he gave kind of like I remember kind of like understanding it for the first time and like crying in my seat, and I felt like he kind of gave an altar call and was like, if you want to be saved, you can come down, and there's people that will help walk you through the salvation process. And so I asked my friend next to me, Raymond, if he would come down with me. I remember, and so he was there next to me while they walked. Like a couple of college kids, I think, had like a thing that walk me through the salvation process, and understand you're a sinner, understand that the only way to God is through his death on the cross and believing in him and becoming a new creation. So I prayed the prayer, and I really feel like that was the time that I was saved. But yes, I think sometimes people are young, and praying the prayer doesn't really mean, I don't think you're saved. But I always look at that time as the time that I understood it, the time that I accepted Jesus.
One of the things that I remember you saying near the end of sharing your story was the redemption process was very clear for you. Of this is how I started, this is where it went, and this is where I am now. Like that, just clear as day redemption arc is really beautiful. So then, where you are at right now today, where do you see parts of your life redeemed? Does that make sense?
I think so. I was, so I just turned really, like, I feel like when I got to that part, like in high school, I just turned really kind of like pig-headed. I didn't really care about anything except what I wanted to do. And, like, I didn't think about the consequences or, the kind of like, ripple effect of my actions. When I was kind of pursuing only what I wanted to do. And so it was a hard road back, but I hope now I think a little bit more about the people around me, and I hope to say that, like, God, that the Holy Spirit, I think, is trying to work in me to see that, like, other people are our work here. It's especially because, like, I'm so introverted. I want to be by myself. I want to retreat when something bad happens or it's uncomfortable. And I think God is showing me how like I'm not kind of like my own silo. Like everything I do is connected to His greater purpose, or even to my spouse, to my friends, to the people around me. Um, you're responsible for yourself, and you're responsible for your actions, and those are going to have consequences. And um, and also, I think how it affected me is when I was at Lake Ann. I remember kind of going through these things and trying to become a better person, and really kind of like cement um, this redemption story that God has been weaving to me into my soul, to kind of
Mm.
exercise all these evil things that had been so ingrained in my psyche and who I was. And um, I remember sitting under a tree, um, cracking my Bible open, which was an uncommon thing for me to do, and um, being brought to, I think it's Philippians 1:6. It's he who began a good work in you will bring it to completion on the day of Christ Jesus.
Mm.
And um, so I had all these things going on, like some sin I was still in, and I remember just feeling like this like message like come down to me, like Joe, I'm gonna make you perfect.
Mm.
It's gonna happen, and it's not gonna be something you do. Um, it's gonna be all me.
Mm-hmm.
So um, like I just felt this like weight off my shoulders,
Oh yeah.
like I'm trying to like be the good person, and I'm like failing.
Mm.
And all these like moral decisions that I make every day, I'm doing the wrong thing. And um, then I was like, we our actions matter, our will matters, and we have responsibility. But it was just kind of like I felt like, in a sense, I could relax. Jesus
Mm.
was going to do it, and
Mm.
it just felt like this giant weight was taken off me. So things that I think are still affecting me now is that I just like, you obey is just really relaxing to know, like, you obey God's word. It's not a heavy load, and you have faith in Him. You love Him. You love the people around you, and um, God works you into and shapes you from wet clay into a living person, and the that person is Jesus Christ, and Jesus Christ is in us.
Mm.
Um, we're saved, and so that's going to work its way out. The loaf will be leavened.
Yeah. And
And
there's
it's
so
really
much grace and
beautiful.
mercy too when we do it all wrong.
Yeah, yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. I really appreciate how throughout your story you kept mentioning your dad as like a mentor or like a guide figure throughout your story. Do you see yourself as a guide to other people around you now because of that?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified.
Well,
uh,
that's the first qualification. Don't feel like you're qualified.
I guess I would say that I hope so. I know a lot of people in my community, and there's certain people that I try to have an influence with that are close to me,
Mm.
and um, I would hope that I'm a good influence on the people, and I guess in some respect, maybe I have, because when I think about it, like going through college, being, um, you know, that was the exact college I wanted to go to, but it ended up that everybody who wants to go to a small private Christian college is like 18 years old, and
Mm.
I was like, I don't remember when I started. I was older, and I'm 28 graduating, so I guess I must have been 24 or something like that. I was always a little bit older than everyone else in my class, and so I always tried to be really really vocal and ask a lot of questions. And that was a big effort for me. And but I felt like it was something that I had to grow in as I was in college. And so I think that kind of attracted some people around me who thought similarly. I have lots of coffees with some guys that are younger than me, and I live for the Lord. I still live at the coffee shop, but I'm just not behind the bar. Everyone knows me. It's like my office. I'm there all the time.
Good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, the next question, I'm pretty sure I already know your answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just because this is one of my favorite questions to ask. If you could have only one for the rest of your life, would it be books or movies?
Yeah, you probably know my answer.
I figured.
I'm trying to stop watching TV.
Really?
Just go books. I think.
Has it helped?
When I don't watch TV, I definitely read more, and I'm probably more of a peaceful person. But right now, I'm not succeeding at that. My wife and I are going through Lost. And I watched it when it was like first coming out, and I'm like my family would sit down like every Wednesday, and that was like what we did, and now I can watch it one after the other, but like we would talk about it all week. It was like really exciting, and so now I'm going through it again, and it's amazing how much I remember. And
I believe it.
Yeah.
Then your answer would be?
I would definitely prefer books.
Okay. Books. Okay. Well, then the next question would be, if you could write a book about your life, what would you want it to be called?
Like the title? I don't know. That's a hard question. I mean, it's kind of like your what do you want on your epitaph? Like, Joe Deitzer's autobiography, or maybe like I was here. It mattered.
I like that.
Yeah, that's what I can with right now.
I like it. You should write that down. That could be a good book. You're a writer. You know, when you have a good idea, you got to write it down. That's for sure. For sure. Well, I'm kind of coming up to the last few questions that I have regarding the podcast, but what would you say to encourage someone or challenge someone who is scared or intimidated in sharing their story?
There's a guy I follow that likes Jordan Peterson. I don't know if you ever heard of him, like the psychologist. He says if you have something to say, silence is a lie. I think everybody in some respect has a duty to share with other people what their story is, because that's the only way that I think, one, we organize our thoughts and understand ourselves, and two, it's the only way that we avoid falling into pits, because if you have someone else that can tell you, hey, this is dangerous, don't do this, or this is where I went wrong, then it's not 100%, but it's a lot less likely that you're going to fall into that pit. So tell your story. I know it's hard, but you'll be happy you did.
That's true. Excuse me, man. I love that. Like I don't know if satisfaction is the right word, but at the end of sharing your story, it feels good to not be the hero in the story. You know what I mean? Like you weren't the one who had it right the entire time. Like God was perfect the entire time, and looking back at all of it, seeing his handiwork and everything, I really do believe that is one of the primary reasons that stories are worth talking about, because God just gets glory from it if we're doing it right. Because if we make ourselves the hero in the story, we're just robbing the glory from him that he rightfully deserves, because we are walking pieces of trash. So, man, that's really
Thanks
good.
for that. I totally missed that. That's why you want to tell your story to, number one, glorify God, bring glory to him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, I have one last question. Is there anything else that you sense the Holy Spirit wants you to share on behalf of anybody who would be listening to this?
I don't think so. I think that's a good place to stop. Yeah. I think thanks so much for doing this, and I really appreciated it. It was fun for me.
I'm glad. I hope for more conversations just like this one. I have a running joke on the podcast that I typically end with high-fiving my guest. And so I would like for you to pick a number between 1 and 10, please.
7.
7. All right, so we're going to count down from 7. We're going to high-five the camera, and then the recording will be done.
Okay.
So, you ready?
Sweet. Yep.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for listening to this week's Infinite Story. If it resonated with you, send it to someone you think would be blessed by it. If you would like to share your story, please reach out to us at infiniteideas.studio. You never know how far the impact of your story can reach. Take care now.